And good afternoon. My book, Become All Flame, Lent with African Saints, was published in 2022. But before I wrote the book, I wrote a series of blog articles about African saints. Every week, every month, I would publish the name and some short stories about these heroes and heroines of early Christianity that looked like us. Some looked like us, some were black, some were Middle Eastern and Southern Europeans who would come to Egypt in particular to learn more about a more ascetic and disciplined form of the Christian faith, of the Orthodox Christian faith. And I got the names and the stories of these African saints from the Prologue of Orid. The Prologue of Orid is a 2-volume set that was written by Saint Nikolai Velimirovich, I'm sorry, I probably butchered that. But Saint Nikolai was a saint of the Serbian Orthodox Church. He was born just before World War I. He died right after World War II, not long after World War II. And this was a man who had seen great suffering in his lifetime. In fact, he suffered greatly in his lifetime as he was a prisoner in the Dachau concentration camp. Also, he had spent time between World War I and World War II. He had spent time in Harlem. And he preached at the St. Philip's Episcopal Church. He may have preached at Abyssinian Baptist. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But he met with the Harlem communities, the African-American community in Harlem. So that's a very interesting note about how universal St. Nikolai was. But the thing that struck me about this work, the Prologue of Orid, is that St. Nikolai took the time to write down the handed down stories and handed down names of important saints, not only of the Egyptian church, which we now call the Coptic Church, but also Serbian saints, Greek saints, Antiochian saints, saints of Syria and Lebanon, even saints of India. Yes, there were Orthodox churches in India and in Persia, modern-day Iran. So this is another source that teaches us that Christianity is a universal faith for all people, not a divided faith that we have so often here in the United States, but a universal faith. And that Saint Nikolai took the time to write their stories, took the time to write their names. He even includes a couple of short sermons, and I do mean very short sermons, a couple of hymns and praises and reflections as well. So the Prologue of Orid is meant to be part of a daily devotion to our spiritual lives. It's something that we can read every morning, read every evening. The stories of the saints are meant to encourage us and inspire us to hold on to our faith despite whatever difficulties we may go through. But I found this book to be a foundation for me to write this book. So if you want to know what the background is to Become All Flame, please take the time to read the Prologue of Orid. You don't necessarily have to buy this book, although I recommend that you do it. But if I'm not mistaken, you can actually go online and find a PDF link to the Prologue of Orid. But by all means, this book is a fantastic foundation to study the Orthodox faith and to study the early African roots of Christianity. This should be my final video for today. Hopefully next week. I know the Feast of the Nativity is coming up, but I will try to make some time to film a couple of other short videos on this topic. In the meantime, everyone have a good day.